Okay, I just published a video on Chrystul Kizer. And in this video, I made a comment that I thought that Chrystul Kizer was in good shape now for an acquittal. Yeah, I'm not so sure now. You want to know why? I went in and actually read the appellate court's decision. There's a paragraph here that's going to be very important for the upcoming trial. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to go ahead and read to you a version that I wrote that sort of makes it clear as to what they're saying. And it's not good news for Chrystul. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dredd Show.
Okay, again, Chrystul Kizer, young black female, sex trafficked by a man by the name of Randall Volar. She took an Uber to his house, partied with him, had sex, had pizza, and then shot him while he was sitting in his chair. She burned his house down, or tried to, and then was caught later after she had taken his car. The prosecution is claiming that this was really all a setup to steal his car. The defense is claiming that she shot Randall Volar because she was being sex trafficked by him. And they're making a claim that if you're a victim of sex trafficking, that you could in fact kill somebody if you can show that the sex trafficking led to the actual shooting. The appeals court heard this argument from Chrystul's defense and has agreed that Chrystul might be able to use this defense. So I'm going to go ahead and read to you this paragraph 15, and this is a very important paragraph. I will link this document in the description below so you can read it on your own. But again, I think paragraph 15 is pretty much what you need to see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then I'm going to show you how I rewrote this to make it a little bit more understandable. Considering the different dictionary definitions and court decisions related to the terms direct and direct result, some guidance emerges. In determining whether a jury should be instructed, and that's really important to understand here, this is about whether the jury should be instructed as to whether Chrystul has this defense available to her. In determining whether a jury should be instructed on whether the commission of a particular offense by a trafficking victim is a direct result of the violation of sections 940 and 948, a court should consider whether there is some evidence to support such a finding based on whether the victim's offense arises relatively immediately from the trafficking violation of which the victim is a victim, is motivated primarily by the trafficking violation, is a logical and reasonably foreseeable consequence of that violation, and is not in significant part caused by events, circumstances, or considerations other than that violation. And then it mentions State versus Schmidt and some other statutes. This is not intended as an exhaustive list of factors for a court to consider in making such a determination. Rather, it is merely intended to provide some guidance. Okay, what does all this mean? Well, it's not really hard to read it so much. It's just very, very long. So what I did is I broke it apart, and let me show you that. All right. Here's what this is saying, essentially. Chrystul's strategy. She wants to force the jury to consider the safe harbor affirmative defense. In other words, there is this defense that's available to her, and she wants to force the court to actually tell the jury that they can consider this affirmative defense. What's the stipulation? There must be some evidence that Chrystul's shooting of Volar was a direct result of sex trafficking. What do we mean by direct result? Well, there's criteria for that. To be a direct result, there are 4 criteria, and they are separated by the word and, which means all 4 of these have to apply. But keep in mind, all you need is some evidence that all 4 apply. Okay, Chrystul's defense team will need to establish that there is some evidence that Chrystul's shooting of Volar arose immediately from the sex trafficking. This is kind of a tough sell here. I mean, she shot him and he was sex trafficking her. Okay, but we can accept that. But did the shooting arise immediately from the sex trafficking? Now keep in mind, sex trafficking has a very specific definition. So she went over to his house. They had sex. That sex was non-consensual because she's a minor, so it's considered rape. And she shot him after the rape took place. He was sitting in his chair. I don't see how she can claim that her shooting arose immediately from the sex trafficking. Yeah, that's kind of tough. Also, she would need to establish that there is some evidence that her shooting of Volar was motivated primarily by the sex trafficking. What evidence is there that she was motivated by the sex trafficking? Well, she could take the stand and then enter her testimony. However, taking the stand is risky. Also, she would need to show that there is some evidence that her shooting of Volar was a logical and reasonably foreseeable consequence of the sex trafficking. So he's sex trafficking her, but was it logical and reasonably foreseeable that she would shoot him? Well, that's kind of a problem because her relationship with him had been going on for a long time. And she would have to show that there is some evidence that her shooting of Volar was not in significant part caused by events, circumstances, or considerations other than sex trafficking. And that's where she's in trouble because she has made text messages insinuating that she was really out to steal the car. Now keep in mind, her primary motivation doesn't have to be car theft. All that's required is that the theft was a significant part as to why she shot him. I'll finally go ahead and translate that last bit. The judge can add on other stipulations if he so desires, as long as he can defend them on Chrystul's appeal. Okay, so this list is not the only thing. He could add something else on there and say, I'm not going to instruct the jury because there was this other thing, and she would have to appeal that, and then the appeals court would have to uphold it or deny it. All right, so what do you think? You really think that she can establish the evidence needed to force the judge to instruct the jury that they must consider the affirmative defense that she's offering? Like my video, subscribe to my channel. And by the way, I'm not a lawyer. If you are a lawyer and I'm misinterpreting this, please let me know. I want to correct the record. Okay? And by all means, do not act on anything that I'm stating here for your own personal uses. Talk to a lawyer before you do anything. Okay? So don't shoot your pimp just because Johnny Walker Dredd said you might be able to. It doesn't work like that.